Hey guys, welcome back. It's Joe again. You're watching Vegas D-Tech, and this is Tech Talk number 58. And we have an interesting one here today. I was going to talk about the new Deus II that is out there and how well it's doing. It seems like it's definitely starting to catch on, and people are paying attention to it. And I'm just here to talk about some of the concerns that I've been seeing with people saying that they're having some issues with the actual device. And it's really crazy to me. I've seen some situations where people are asking for a reset, a factory reset on it, because they claim that they're getting too deep into the programs and that they don't know how to get out of the programs, and because they've already screwed around with the settings and they would just like to get back to the normal screen. Now, what's crazy and interesting to me is I have subscribers that are texting me and sending me messages saying, dude, it's just as simple as just turning it off and turning it back on. Is it really? Right? It's got to be more than that, guys, because you've got guys that have been in the field for a long time. And when I'm talking about somebody, I'm talking about somebody like, like Merrill, these guys know he's got like 20 detectors and he's been detecting for many years. So I'm pretty sure he's tried turning it off and turning it back on. And I'm sure that is not enough to fix the problem. And I've seen people chime in on his website and tell him the same thing. Dude, it's simple. Turn it off and turn it back on. The detector doesn't remember none of its settings. Well, it does if you hit save, right? And it is very easy, guys, to hit save or do whatever. I don't know about that machine. It is too complex for me, okay? And this video is not going to be a bash on the Deus, but I'm just here to let you know that it is not for everybody, okay? Turning it off and turning it back on does restore the settings if you have not saved anything. But if you do hit save, you're kind of screwed. Okay. And also turning it off and turning it back on may reset the software. But a lot of the times I'm hearing guys complaining that now they're having problems with the headphone and the audio and the hardware. That turning it off and turning it back on doesn't reset the hardware. Okay. And it's just, you know what, man? That device right there, man, has a steep learning curve. And it is a quirky machine. You could have pairing situations. The lights are blinking. The coil has a mind of its own. The coil needs to be charged independently of the control box. The control box has to be charged. They have to be paired. The headphone has to be paired. This, that, and the other. And, it is something that most people don't deal with because everything that we have is wired. And you cut it on and everything comes on, So with that being said, I have, some comments here. I have a subscriber named Sergey that sent me, a message, and, he writes me fantastic stuff. And I just wanted to share this comment that he left for me. And here's what he says. And Sergey says, "The Deus is a fantastic device. I have used it for over 10 years and found a ton of old silver coins. But I got tired of fine-tuning it at every hunt site I visited. This is the must-do to make the Deus perform as a fantastic detector. And I would not be joking to say that it takes 7 seasons to master the Deus. And after having done lots of lab work in the fields for so long, I finally ran out of patience and switched to the mid-ranged 500 T2 and was pleasantly shocked." And it was a long stream that he, wrote me. And then at the end of it, it says that the Deus II, or the Deus or Deus II, is too much for an average person who is unwilling to climb a steep learning curve. Now, guys, let's be real here. The majority of us know that when we get something new, anything, right? As soon as you open it up, what do you see laying on the top? The user manual. And what do you generally do with that user manual? Right? Because generally speaking, you will be able to cut on whatever it is and start playing with it. And by using it and cutting it on, the interface is intuitive, user-friendly. That just by playing with buttons and moving things around, you can figure the gist of where this thing is going and catch up and catch on relatively quick. And this is the one thing that I had a bug with the Deus too. Think about back in the day. I remember the one detector that I thought was mind-blowing and way ahead of its time but I thought it was like the future moving forward. And that was the White's V3i Spectra V3i, right? And when you cut it on, man, all these features came up, bro. And the sounds and the tones and the ability to fine tune every single parameter of whatever you wanted can be fine tuned. But then after staring at it, man, I started getting headaches, man. I started needing to take aspirin to try to keep attention, to try to stay awake. And I'm like, is this really something that I want to bring with me out into the field, having to play with these settings, man? It's like you open up one menu and then 5 categories comes up. Each category has a plus box on it. When you open that, sub-menus come up. And it's just subfolders within sub-menus and menus. You know, and then finally, you don't even know where you are. You got to keep backtracking and backtracking and backtracking. You know, trying to back up, because you want to get to the main screen, the user screen, your home base screen. And like I said, there are some individuals out there, man, that love this stuff. I mean, if you are a diehard metal detectorist and you have been playing with the Deus from the day one, Deus 2 is right up your alley. I can completely understand how you guys like that type of metal detecting, but it is a niche few people that can tolerate having that much complexity in metal detecting, okay? I mean, this is the reason why I've always grown to love something simple like this. An interface like this is just, for me, it's the way to go. I mean, everything is laid out clear on your main screen there. All useful non-fluff settings are sitting right there, easy to see. You can clearly see what's going on, all of the pertinent information that you need to work on. You don't need to stop and start jamming buttons and looking through submenus. Everything is pretty much laid out straightforward. And I like that intuitive, straightforward, user-friendly design. You know? And this is one of the reasons why this detector became very, very popular amongst people. Okay? Very straightforward, user-friendly design. Everything that you need to see is right there, lit straight up. These are not hidden within a menu, within a menu, within a submenu. They've integrated all the pertinent things that you need on the one screen. It's a big screen. It's not a teeny little screen. To me, the Deus has too small of a screen for all the information that it tries to give you. These screens here are big enough to give you everything in one shot where you could see everything. Okay? Now, imagine you have a laptop computer, right? A laptop computer. You got all these peripherals that are plugged into it. You got a keyboard with all these buttons. You need all that to navigate Windows. Now imagine trying to navigate Windows with the Deus 2 user interface. You have 6 buttons, and those 6 buttons have to navigate through all those feature parameters and programs that are there. Could you imagine trying to run Windows with 6 buttons? You know that each one of those buttons are going to have to be configured to run a submenu, and then they're going to have to repurpose that button to serve another purpose and go into another submenu, and then now it does another purpose. And it could just be way too much. Now, the one thing that I do recall when I used to work with friends in IT, software programming for applications for cell phones, is the one thing that the employers always told us, guys, when you make your software, you need to make it user-friendly and intuitive. That's like the most common sense training that they give you when they design things. And I just tend to think, do the French not care about that? I mean, is this like 1990s France when they made the XP? Because that machine is very complicated. And I personally have really thought about, I know that the Deus is the most feature-rich and has the most potential of what detectors and metal detecting needs to have. Everything can be tuned for your unique environment, your unique soil, your unique hunting condition. It has everything you need. And I think that moving forward, you're probably going to see most detectors gravitate that way. But there will always be a market for people that just want simplicity in metal detecting, okay? Now, I recall back when the V3i came out, I looked at this thing and I said, you know what? I had a wild concept. And I just never had time. It never had time to materialize. But here's something I want to throw at you. What if See, the biggest demise for the V3i was as advanced as it was very difficult to understand. And the learning curve was too rich for people that just wanted to get out there and swing. You know, with the detectors that I just showed you out there, it's like a 1, 2, 3-step process. When you walk out to a field, you cut it on, you ground balance, you set your sensitivity, you pick your mode you want to be in, and you go. That's it. And I remember when I met this one old guy named Rick, you know, and he was an old guy, and I met him out at a park one day, and he had the Deus, and at the time, you know, I was just starting off in metal detecting, and I had like a Technetics, you know, I think I had a Delta 4000 or something like that. It doesn't get much easier. You know, you walk out there, you cut it on, ground balance if necessary, man, coin mode, get out there and do your smack. And when I saw what he had, I was like, what do you got there, man? Jeez, what is this, like a little wallet, cell phone with a little leather case and, you know, headphones that wrapped around the back of his neck. And I was like, man, all this high-tech stuff. And we would get out of the car and we would head out into the field. And the first thing I'd see him do is he'd get on his knees under a tree and start jamming on buttons. And I'm over here swinging already. I'm already like 5 minutes into into detecting, and he's setting up his programs before we even started. And then we would just go out there and hunt, and I would just take a look again, and then I would look, he's back kneeling on the ground again, pushing buttons. You know, and I was like, man, that is nothing that I want to be. I do not want to detect that way. You know, I came out here to cover as much ground. If you're doing a bunch of button mashing, you ain't doing much detecting. You know, and I was just like, for me, I was like, that's just too much. I don't want to get into it. But one thing that I did come up with, and I spoke with him and a couple of other people, was what if you had the ability to just do all that programming at home? And what I mean by that is you turn on your laptop, you open up the Deus program, the screen comes up, and it's got all the screens, like just say 12 screens, like for 12 menus, all laid up on your monitor. And you're able, with your mouse and keyboard, you can maneuver yourself through all different modes and set it up exactly the way that you want to, call it something, store it, but you can trade this with your friends. Now imagine that. You can trade programs with your friends. So this is going to definitely benefit people that don't have the understanding, or that they're not tech savvy. They like the weight of the Deus. They like the potential and the growth of the Deus, that the fact that you can use it in multiple settings, and you buy once, cry once type of a purchasing, you know, decision with the Deus. But they just don't like how technical it is, man. They don't want that. But what if you didn't have to do that? What if guys like Paystreak, you know, Calabash, myself, let's just say that, for instance, I sat here and I did all the heavy lifting for you, right? And let's just say that I did all this work. I spent 2 hours fine-tuning a park coin shooting program. And since I like hot dogs, I just called it Hot Dog, right? And here, I eat at Panda Express. I like firecracker shrimp. So then I do another program for like trashy areas, and I just call it Firecracker, right? And I say, hey man, you know what? I got these 2 programs. They've been really producing for me, Hot Dog and Firecracker. If you want it, go to my link on my channel, and there's an attachment right there. Download the attachment, zip it into your laptop, plug it into your detector, zip that in, and you'll see it come up on your screen. It'll say Firecracker, Hot Dog, and you've got my program. I did all the heavy lifting for you. All you got to do is cut your machine on and go detecting with it. And hopefully it all works beautiful for you, right? And somebody like Paystreak says he loves Korean food. Let's just say Paystreak busted his tail pushing all the buttons for you at home, spending a couple of hours fine-tuning a couple of programs, and he calls his sushi and kimchi. All right? So there you go. So then you got 2 programs by Paystreak. He's got the sushi program and he's got the kimchi program. And then with mine, I found 2 that worked great in my parks. And if the way you hunt and your conditions are similar to mine or similar to his, our programs may be perfect for you. But you'll have all of those programs in your user banks. So as you turn on your detector, you go over to the user and you got all the names there, man. You're like, okay, there's Hot Dog, there's Firecracker, Sushi, and Kimchi. And those programs have been fine-tuned for you. by people already. They've taken all the heavy lifting and legwork out of this, and they brought it to you. And you could just, after a while, we have a community of people that could just trade programs back and forth. I heard this guy, hey man, you know what? You got a really great program that's been producing for you. I see that you have a lot of rings and jewelry coming up, man. You've been very proficient. You had EMI issues. You don't have it anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Let me try out your program. And you know what? We just start collecting it'll be just like what do you call it? Pokemon cards. You got a collection of Pokemon cards, but instead you've got programs from around the world that people have sent to you, and they give you unique little names, and you heard about those names. And now you got all of this options here. Somebody else has done all the actual programming for you, and we become a metal detecting community where we can just trade programs amongst each other and have them all in our computer and bring the ones in that work and discards the ones that don't, or put the ones that don't back into a file on your computer. But you never ever have to sit there and play with settings. For those of you that don't like to play with settings, but you love the Deus, what if, the people at Deus have listened to that and said, this would be a great idea. All we need to do is have our software engineer make a homepage that actually you can download onto your screen. It will pop up the Deus screen on your computer, and it has the 12 menus. It'll see 12 boxes on your screen, and you could just sit there with your mouse and go into each one of those screens and adjust it each way that you want. And when you have it all set, you hit save, put a name on it, and zip it to a file. And then you plug your detector USB right into the PC, and then you import those files into the actual detector, and then you have it in your user banks, and they're all named, and that we can all trade these programs back and forth, saving us all a bunch of time, headache, and the learning curve would actually be fun. What do you guys think about that? I think that would be a great idea. It's something that I've thrown out there, and it's something that I wish that whites would have thought of way back then, but then they went out of business before any of that could have materialized. And yeah, so what say you guys? Share your thoughts, man. Please, link your thoughts down below. Let me know. I'd like to hear what it is that you say about that. Do you like the idea? Would you be more prone to wanting to buy maybe a Deus 2 if we had a community of that we could network that way, where people could build their own custom programs, and then once they're fully fixed and they have it named, they could just zip it into a file, and then we could all share that. Would that help you in making a buying decision of actually purchasing a Deus? Because you know what, man, that Deus is an incredible machine. But if we could just get over that learning curve of trying to master, we don't have 7 seasons to try to, be able to fine tune this machine. But those of us that have spent that kind of time, and those of us that are very tech savvy and tech oriented, where we like that kind of stuff, maybe we can help the rest of the community because we like it so much that we do all the heavy lifting and we just trade files and help everybody else. And everybody would be a Deus community, be it a Deus 1 or Deus 2. Anyways, man, just food for thought. It's Joey again. You're watching Vegas Detect. This is Tech Talk 58. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. See ya.